Here's why you might use an LLC for your business. An LLC is a limited liability company. That's what it stands for. The big benefit is in the name, of course, limited liability. It's one of the major benefits. There are other benefits as well, but really the big reason you'd form any company like an LLC or a corporation or many of the other entity types out there, a lot of them offer limited liability. But what exactly does that mean? What liability is it limiting? Well, it's really about the owners of an LLC. So the owners of a limited liability company, they're called members. Each member has their personal liability protected to some level, even if the business takes on debts or runs into lawsuits or something like that. So it's sort of an extra layer of protection that the company offers each of its members. And it's one of the biggest reasons why you would form something like this. It's kind of a general theme with all entities is they're separate from the actual people who run the business. It's an entity in itself. It's its own person. Often corporations are people too. That's what that comes from. That applies to LLCs as well. So you sort of have a layer of protection there. In many cases, not all cases, because a court sometimes can do what's called piercing the veil of the LLC if things aren't followed properly. So you want to make sure you have an attorney on your team to make sure that you're following all of the filings and doing everything correctly with an LLC. So you can get this benefit here of limited liability. But that's what that's all about. That's one of the big benefits. Another one is pass-through taxation. So what that means is with something like a corporation, like a C Corp, which many large businesses happen to be, they have to pay taxes at the corporate level. There's a separate corporate tax rate. With LLCs, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can, in some cases, it can make sense to choose that, but it is an option afforded to LLCs themselves. They have pass-through taxes. And by pass-through, what that means is that there's no tax at the company level, and it's passed on instead to each of the individual owners or the members of the LLC. So that often can be much more advantageous than having to pay a corporate tax rate and then paying a tax at the personal level on any profits that are distributed to you. Instead, in this case, there's no taxes for the LLC itself, and instead they're all passed to the individual members. And that's worth talking over with an accountant because taxes are complicated and it might not make sense to elect pass-through taxation, but it is an option for many LLCs. Now, the other big benefit, I think this is the third biggest benefit of an LLC. There are others, but this is a big one, and that's flexibility, at least compared to other entity types. Sorry, my writing on the board isn't the best, but flexibility is what that says. And what I mean by this is that compared to something like a C Corp, like a corporation, you have quite a few more options with an LLC in how you structure things. For one, you can choose to have corporate level taxes, so it behaves kind of like a C Corp in many ways. You can choose to have many members or very few members of the LLC, so it can be flexible for that. If you anticipate having more people joining the company that you want to give equity to, that is an option. So they're very flexible in that sense, and they're really pretty easy to set up compared to many entities. There's usually just a couple filings to do, maybe put together an operating agreement. An attorney can help you walk through that. And that's an agreement between all the members of the business so that everything's all out there on paper. And it can give you a lot of options on how to structure and strategize with the other members. So they're very flexible in that sense. Not that there aren't things that you really have to follow closely, and you want to be sure you're following all the regulations in your given state. And each state will have a few nuances with how they handle LLCs, maybe an extra filing or two each year, but it's usually not a whole lot compared to many other entities. But overall, I think these are the three big benefits of having an LLC. You have limited liability. That's really the big one and the main reason pretty much anyone's going to form any type of entity that has a limited liability aspect to it, like a C Corp or like an LLC. It's limited liability of the members. You also have the option for pass-through taxes. That is not the case for all types of entities. And then flexibility. They tend to be more flexible in how you can structure them. You can expand the team under them a lot more easily, perhaps compared to some other things. They're not always the best choice, so you do want to talk with an attorney to make sure it makes sense for your business. Or if you're thinking about different types of entities, the advantages of one might be better than an LLC for your situation. An LLC might not be appropriate in every case. So you do want to weigh your options pretty carefully. An attorney can help you through that. And they can also help with setting it up. We do that for our clients all the time, setting up LLCs, getting operating agreements in place, making sure that things are all set up so that the business can operate without having to worry about that side of things. If you have questions about anything with LLCs or pretty much all things business law, definitely give us a call and someone would be happy to help. Thanks and have a great rest of your day.